All right, everybody, welcome in. Busy day, busy afternoon. It is time to celebrate. The new league year is almost here. We're just about 90 seconds away. You could tell I'm in Central Time, but you got all the other cities down there. You've got Eastern Time, New York. You've got London. You've got Paris. You got Los Angeles. I'm sure some of you are there. San Francisco, same time as LA. So 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And when this clock right here, the big one, strikes 3 p.m. Central time, we will be entering the 2024 NFL new league year. Arik Armstead remains under contract with the 49ers. Joey Bosa remains under contract with the Los Angeles Chargers. Both of those things need to happen for those two players to be eligible for post June 1st cut designation. So those teams want to maintain flexibility. We expected all this to go down this way. Every single team must be salary cap compliant in 35 seconds. The Chargers have made moves to be salary cap compliant that do not include getting rid of Joey Bosa. Kyle Juszczyk has agreed to a pay cut, $1.75 million saved for the 49ers. I think that helped them become salary cap compliant, and the countdown is on. So you could say goodbye to the 2023 NFL league year. We are 10 seconds away from the 2024 new league year. Here we go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy new league year. 2024 is here. The confetti can pour down. We have put 2023 in the rear view mirror. So what does this mean? Well, now that Arik Armstead and Joey Bosa have both made it with their respective teams in the new league year, the 49ers and the Chargers respectively can cut both of them with June 1st designations. They can keep the dead cap money that would be involved with releasing both of these defensive linemen who've got strikingly similar situations. They can keep the cap hits at bay, push a lot of them to 2025. Both players injured a lot over the past 2 years. Both players still drawing interest from other teams. The Tennessee Titans, I'm sitting here in Nashville, Tennessee Titans have interest in Arik Armstead. I think the 49ers obviously have interest in Joey Bosa. The Chargers working the phones, dangling Joey Bosa out there for a potential trade, and we'll see if there's a chance that he gets a chance to play for. There's a chance, but we'll see if the opportunity to play with his brother Nick Bosa does materialize. So I'm going to tweet right now. Happy 2024 NFL new league year. Here we go. It starts on March 13th, 2024. It is officially here, and I'm sure some news is pouring through. Free agency can officially begin. So the 49ers can now officially sign the players from other teams that they have agreed to terms with over the course of the past few days. They weren't able to do that officially until right now. That was called the legal tampering window. And now the 49ers are in actual free agency. The players who were under contract with the 49ers last year that they did not extend, whose contracts did not extend into 2024, they are now officially free agents. We can take a look right now at the 49ers roster to get you all situated. This is a depth chart and a roster that I keep track of. As you can see, the investment has happened heavily in this front seven. It's happened exclusively in this front seven as far as outside free agents. But the symmetry that I want to talk about to start the new league year between Joey Bosa and Arik Armstead, I think is the most interesting. Both of these guys, now that they've been on their respective teams into the 2024 new league year, are eligible for releases where the cap hit could be pushed back by June 1st designations or the post June 1st designation. Both of these guys have suffered through a lot of injuries over the course of the past 2 seasons, have missed a lot of games over the course of the past 2 seasons, but probably still have some good football in them. In fact, Arik Armstead is coming off of his best NFL pass rushing grade of his career. Obviously, the 49ers have made plenty of moves to move forward without Arik Armstead. They traded for Malik Collins. the Texans defensive tackle today. They traded, or they signed Jordan Elliott, the former Cleveland Browns defensive tackle, yesterday. So in theory, the 49ers have a replacement for Armstead, and they also have a replacement for Javon Kinlaw, who signed with the Jets. On the other side, the Chargers have restructured the contract of Khalil Mack, which means they intend to keep him, because you don't restructure the deal of a player that you're about to trade. Otherwise, you'd incur even more dead money. So the Chargers have doubled down on Khalil Mack, but they haven't touched the contract of Joey Bosa. The Chargers are pretty damn publicly dangling Joey Bosa out there in potential trade discussions. Will they trade him? Well, that depends on if another team believes that his current contract is worth trading for. Same issue with Arik Armstead and the 49ers. Armstead is due a $17.4 million base salary, plus about $1 million in other bonuses. So it's about an $18 million payout for Arik Armstead this year on his current contract. If another team believes that's worth paying for, they may send a later round draft pick to the 49ers for Arik Armstead. But if they believe that he's way overpaid, as the 49ers thought was the case, that's why they wanted Armstead to take a pay cut, well, then the 49ers will just probably have to release Arik Armstead. Same thing with the Chargers. Joey Bosa is at a $15 million base salary. None of it's guaranteed. And he's got a roster bonus of $7 million that is due on Saturday, March 16th, so in 3 days. So that's $22 million total for Joey Bosa. If there's another team that believes that $22 million is fair for Joey Bosa and they want that contract, they can trade for him. If that's not the case, the Chargers will probably have to release him. That's why the post-June 1st designation is key in both of these cases, because it allows you to minimize the cap damage to 2024 and push some of that damage back to 2025. Joey Bosa, there's one extra deadline layer, and that is that the $7 million roster bonus is due on Saturday. So if they're going to move on from him, if Jim Harbaugh doesn't want him on the team this year, they're going to have to do so by Saturday. So I think there could be a game of chicken between the Chargers and other teams. Other teams will say, well, if you don't really want Joey Bosa, then we're just going to wait until you cut him on Saturday so we don't have to send draft compensation to you. That being said, if somebody wants to cut in line, if you want to ensure that you don't have competition for Joey Bosa's services, you still can trade for him right now instead of waiting until he's presumably cut. And, presumably might be a strong word. We don't know exactly how Jim Harbaugh's feeling. He could just be dangling Joey Bosa out there for kicks and giggles. He could be seeing what kind of return he might command, but ultimately Jim Harbaugh might want to keep him. We don't know for sure, but we do know that a lot of these trade reports there's been a lot of smoke. It has been coming out over the past few days, and I don't think the Chargers have done much to deny it or to stop that smoke from happening. So for all intents and purposes, no restructure for Joey Bosa means the Chargers are still at least open to moving him. There's a chance that he does get cut if they can't move him because of that roster bonus. And then it'd be a question of, does Joey want to play with his brother, Nick Bosa? The Arik Armstead situation, he doesn't have a brother in the league who he could join the play for, but he does have GMs around the league, thanks to the 49ers' influence, who want him to play for their team, or at least they're interested in that. Rand Carthon here in Nashville, Tennessee, of the Titans, the GM here, formerly of the 49ers. He could be a guy that brings Arik Armstead in. It's been reported that the Titans are interested, but we just don't know what the price points here are. So now that the new league year has begun, I'm so excited, just as a numbers guy, as somebody who likes the data, as somebody who wants to see if we were right in all of our speculation. I want to see if the 49ers were right in their speculation about Arik Armstead and his worth. I want to see what the actual market dictates for Joey Bosa and Arik Armstead. Joey Bosa's current contract says he's worth $22 million for this season. Arik Armstead's current contract says about $18 million for this season. If nobody thinks that those values are appropriate, if they're too high for both Armstead and Bosa, well, then we should see that reflected in how much they're playing for next season, in that 2024 season, either for their current teams or for another team. I think with Arik Armstead, it's almost certainly going to be for another team, since the 49ers have traded for Malik Collins. But anyway, the 2024 league year is here. This is fascinating stuff. I went over a lot of the salary cap pieces a little bit earlier. Obviously, the 49ers are in a situation where they are trying to contend this year. They're trying to put as many chips as possible into the middle of the table this year while Brock Purdy is on a cheap quarterback deal. The price for Purdy is very likely going to go very much higher next season. So, as I've long said, this free agency period, this offseason was about the 49ers consolidating resources, last dance type of vibes, but they're also trying to build the team at the margins to smoothly transition into the future where they may be losing some of their A-list players in 2025. But in general, you want to try to build as strong of a roster as possible when you have Brock Purdy on that rookie deal, when Brock Purdy's making up less than 1% of your salary cap expenditures. And when that is the case, then it puts a whole heck of a lot of pressure and intrigue on every single move that the 49ers might make. In any other situation, given how many star players the 49ers have on their roster, they probably would not be able to afford somebody like Joey Bosa. But in this particular situation, I think that somebody like Joey Bosa might look at the 49ers if he is released, obviously. That's still under the Chargers' control. He might look at the 49ers. He might look at his brother Nick Bosa. He might look at the fact that the 49ers have set up a defensive line room where he would fit perfectly. The 49ers run a rotation, and you could see in the depth chart right now that Bosa would slot in exactly where the 49ers would want him to go. Leonard Floyd can play either defensive end 2 or defensive end 3. It's an ideal situation for Nick Bosa depth chart wise. And you look at that opportunity. I think it couldn't ever have been set up better for ring chasing. And you could go to the 49ers for 1 year if you become available, and you could try to compete alongside a team of all pros, Pro Bowlers, and Brock Purdy on a rookie deal that makes all of that affordable, all that possible under the context of the salary cap, and you could try to go for a legacy championship alongside your brother, Nick Bosa. I think that's why there's so much intrigue about this possibility. And right now, we don't know if the opportunity is actually going to materialize, but we do know that there's a deadline on Saturday with Bosa getting that trigger in his contract for the $7 million roster bonus, and we will see how everything proceeds. There's also a chance that somebody trades for him before then, and that somebody could be a team different than the San Francisco 49ers. I do not think that the 49ers are willing to pay Joey Bosa at the $22 million that his current contract would dictate for the 2024 season. I think the 49ers need that price to be lower. So I would assume they need Bosa to be released, or they would need the trade to involve a reworked contract. And, maybe they're willing to send some higher draft capital to the Chargers if the Chargers are willing to eat part of that contract. Anything could be negotiated. So we'll just have to see what happens moving forward. I do know the 49ers have 10 draft picks entering this league year. They traded one of the 11, the 7th rounder, to Houston for Malik Collins. And I also do know that the 49ers offensive line and defensive line strategy as far as investment is very, very clear to me at this point. I could illustrate it here. This is what the 49ers have done so far. Teal marks new players that the 49ers have signed so far this offseason. All of the teals in the front seven, almost all of it is within the defensive line. Obviously, none of it is in that O-line room. Today, Matt Pryor signed with the Chicago Bears. He was the backup right tackle for the 49ers this past season. It, to me, is abundantly clear that the 49ers are letting market forces dictate their strategy as far as investment in both offensive and defensive lines. They need investment in both. Let's make that clear. The 49ers need to improve their offensive line. I think that was the biggest statistical weakness of the team in 2023. But they've also badly needed to revamp their defensive line. There were statistical weaknesses there, too. The run defense dropped down to number 26. The pass rush slowed down a bit. Obviously, injury issues to somebody like Arik Armstead were a big deal, and contractual issues were a big deal. There were a lot of expiring contracts along that defensive line. So both the offensive and defensive line have needed investment. But then you look at the two primary paths of talent acquisition in the NFL. They are free agency and the NFL draft. there is a stark difference in the talent pool of offensive and defensive linemen in both free agency and the NFL draft. I talked about this a lot yesterday. You could look up my other videos, but in general, the state of the game of football, the state of the talent pool is that there are many more talented, prolific defensive linemen in the game right now than offensive linemen. The development of defensive line, and this has been happening for over a decade now, has outpaced the development of offensive line, which is why it seems that every team is constantly short offensive linemen. If that is the case, then this is simple economics. Economics 101. We'll call it football econ 101, football business 101. If there are more talented defensive linemen available than offensive linemen, the defensive linemen will be cheaper in free agency. Supply and demand, right? Lower supply, higher demand for offensive linemen. Meanwhile, there's a higher supply, so a lower demand, and therefore a lower price for defensive linemen. So the 49ers have chosen to use free agency as their pathway to stock up on the defensive linemen since it's more cost efficient to do so. Offensive linemen, meanwhile, are more expensive. And for that, I give you the example of what the Rams did. The Rams have used the opposite strategy of the 49ers. They signed Kevin Dotson, a guard, and they signed Jonah Jackson, formerly of the Detroit Lions, a guard. Those two guys are combining for cap hits of $23.5 million this year. That's probably going to be more than the combined cap hit of all 4 or 5 49ers defensive additions so far. So that's great for the Rams. They've got a couple good run blockers, but guess what? Out of 51 qualifying guards last year, Kevin Dotson ranked number 20 in pass blocking efficiency, and Jonah Jackson ranked number 34. So Kevin Dotson was barely over average in pass blocking, and Jonah Jackson was below average. So the Rams have just spent $23 million of cap space on decidedly mediocre pass protection. For the 49ers, who obviously need a pass protection improvement in front of Brock Purdy, I don't think that was an acceptable price. I don't think they were sitting there saying, hey, we want to go spend $23 million this season to try to improve the guard spots marginally with pass protection that might go from slightly below average to average at best. And that wouldn't have even touched the right tackle position, which I think also needs an upgrade for the 49ers. So the 49ers instead said they're going to invest in the defensive line. This has been the strategy. And they're going to consolidate all of the holes here, defensive line plus Eric Kendricks at linebacker, so they can turn toward the NFL draft, which is cost controlled on the rookie wage scale, to pick their offensive linemen. They've got a number 31 overall pick, so their first round pick since the 2021 season. That was the year they traded those picks to move up and pick Trey Lance. The 49ers can use that number 31 pick as part of a package to move even higher up, but there are a lot of tackles available, and there are a lot of good guards also available in this coming 2024 NFL draft. It makes way more financial sense for the San Francisco 49ers to heavily invest in the offensive line. That's absolutely what makes sense. It makes sense for them to invest in the offensive line through the draft and not through free agency. The prices in free agency have gone out of control. There was one really clear pass protecting upgrade for the 49ers in free agency. That would have been Robert Hunt. He signed for $20 million a year. The price was a non-starter for the 49ers. It just goes to show you how that market overheated, and the 49ers are in a better spot now to go through the draft for the offensive line. All right, so the new league year is here. I told you this is what happened after the new league year. The 49ers have officially released Arik Armstead. They have announced roster moves. I will tweet them right now. Nothing new. They've re-signed Brandon Allen to a 1-year deal. They've signed Colton McKivitz to a 1-year extension. They signed George Odom to a 2-year extension. We reported all that news already. All of those things are official. But now the release of Arik Armstead is also official. We will see if the 49ers do so with a post-June 1st designation. I am guessing that's going to be the case. But I am in a tweet now. 49ers officially release Arik Armstead. Boom. Just have it there. So I will give you guys the official financial implications in just a second. Presumably with a post June 1st designation. So we will take a look at this. Armstead have cut after June 1st. This opens $2.4 million of salary cap space now. And it's going to open about, we'll see, 18.4 minus 2.4. Let's see. About $2.5 million of salary cap space now. I have to do the math on this. You guys can see me work. That's always what happens. So we're going to go 18 minus 2.5 and $15.5 million of salary cap space after June 1st. SF traded for Armstead's replacement, Malik Collins, earlier today. So guess what? The longest tenured 49er is now Kyle Juszczyk. With Arik Armstead gone, the last connection to the Trent Baalke era is no longer on the roster. The longest tenured 49ers player is now Kyle Juszczyk, followed by George Kittle. Juszczyk joined in March 2017. George Kittle joined in May of 2017. Kyle Juszczyk reworked his contract today. He took a pay cut. That's something that Arik Armstead did not want to do. But the 49ers obviously will thank Arik Armstead for his service with the team. 9 seasons with San Francisco, drafted in the first round of 2016. That was back when Trent Baalke was still the general manager. Went through the 2015 season for Arik Armstead. Buckner was 2016. So Armstead was there when Chip Kelly was the coach. Jim Tomsula. He saw Tom Sula, then Chip Kelly, then Kyle Shanahan. 9 years with the 49ers. Career started off rocky. A lot of injuries early on. Then Armstead saw that healthy stretch over the middle course of his career. 49ers paid him in 2020. He spearheaded their charge to the number 1 run defense in 2021. 10 sacks in 2019. Was a tremendous player for them for a long stretch of time. Mentored Javon Kinlaw, and ultimately the plantar fasciitis got Arik Armstead. Missed 13 games of the past 2 seasons with that foot issue plus a knee issue. Played through a torn meniscus after he returned this year. Toughed it out and played really well in the Super Bowl. But ultimately the 49ers have elected to raise the floor of that defensive tackle position. They want to make sure that they're not having a guy who's missing a ton of games. I think you almost build that into the Arik Armstead calculus. He's missed 13 games over the past 2 seasons, and plantar fasciitis doesn't just go away. So that is the latest. Why don't you go ahead and put your 49ers questions in there? We can now update the 49ers roster with the official release of Arik Armstead. Taking him off of the list right here. So that means the 49ers have 62 players on the 90-man roster and 44 players on my 53-man projection. Kalia Davis might be able to mix into this 49ers 8-man rotation. So might Drake Jackson, but if they're able to get Joey Bosa, you can be sure they're going to find some room for him. They could still use more depth along that defensive line, but it's a lot cleaner looking now without the orange shade for Arik Armstead in there. We'll see what his next team will be. The Tennessee Titans have been interested in Arik Armstead, as I mentioned. So Juszczyk and Kittle, both with the 49ers since 2018. Let's open this up to a 49ers Q&A. I'm juggling a lot of things at once, guys. All for you. Oh, man. What a day. A lot of news. And we will obviously continue to monitor what happens with Arik Armstead. I think it's time to move to a 49ers Q&A, though. I really do. I'm going to be checking your questions here in just a second. Matt Barrows reports, keep an eye on Buffalo as a possible landing spot for Arik Armstead. It would be crazy if the 49ers met him in the Super Bowl next season. '49ers, I could explain a little bit of how the Arik Armstead contract situation will work as far as ridding his contract off the books. Why don't I get this up on the screen so I could help explain some of that stuff? This is just, it's wild how many windows I have open right now. Those of you who are very obsessed with keeping a computer desktop clean, I don't want you to see all these contract windows that I have open on the screen. It's really gotten wild, but it's the way that you got to operate at this point. Okay, here we go. Take a look at Arik Armstead's contract. As you can see here, the 2014 season, or the 2024 season is what the 49ers have been dealing with. $17.4 million base salary was not guaranteed. So that's wiped out. The 49ers don't owe anything of the $17.4 million. They don't owe anything of the $750,000 roster bonus. They don't owe the $100,000 workout bonus. So you have 17.4 plus 850,000, which is somewhere in the mid 18 million range, is wiped off the 49ers books. However, you do have dead money that's going to be added to the 49ers books this season. And that dead money, it's going to be your signing bonus proration from this year, 8.3 million plus 1.5 million, plus all of the signing bonus prorations from future years that had been stretched out until 2027 because of a couple restructures. If the 49ers did make a mistake here, then it was restructuring Arik Armstead last season and adding void years, because that stretched the cap damage out to 2027, and it's all going to have to accelerate and hit now. That being said, they were planning to pay Arik Armstead that money on the cap at some point anyway. They just decided to pay it later. So as long as they don't go over the limit, which they haven't, then it's really just a zero interest loan for the 49ers. They have to pay the money regardless. They converted this base salary, which used to be much higher, into signing bonus last year. They stretched it out over all these years against the Caps, and now it's going to come due. With the June 1st designation, which we expect the 49ers to use, all of this future damage of the proration doesn't hit until next year. So the 49ers push it back. That's how it works. So you go cut post June 1st on over the cap. And as you can see here, 49ers take on $10.3 million of dead money this year, and they save $18 million. Although most of that $18 million in savings will not be free until after June 1st. So the 49ers can't turn around and use all that savings for Arik Armstead, for players to sign instead of Arik Armstead right now. They can use 2.5 million of it right now, but most of it's not going to be available until much later. It will set their cap situation up, though, to be much better and much cleaner in the 2025 league year. And I could show you that through this sheet right here, the 49ers salary cap report. Let me just get this up on the screen for you. All right, here we go. So Armstead and the 49ers 2024 salary cap report. Let's see. We're going to make him, there's going to be $10.3 million in dead money this year. So he's going to be counting $10.3 million against the cap in 2024. We'll put that on the sheet. There you go. And in 2025, he's going to be counting $15.6 million against the cap in dead money. We'll put him down here. I already put him down there, 15.55 in dead money. We can actually move Armstead and his 10.3 million to the dead money column now. And we can move him out of this column up here. We can replace him with Malik Collins. And now we're waiting for other 49ers contracts to become official. So by the time that the 53-man roster hits, this salary cap report is going to be very relevant. The 49ers will have $25.6 million in salary cap room, not counting the new contracts that they just added, but they could have backloaded all of those contracts. So they currently have 45 players projected to make the 53-man roster by my count. And they're going to have, I think, over $10 million to finish up the last 8 spots of this roster with potential restructures still looming. They've restructured Fred Warner. Actually, wait, I don't think, I haven't updated Fred Warner on this sheet yet. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That means I could go backwards here. I think Warner's cap hit is going to be, you guys are seeing how the sausage is made here. Warner's cap hit is, I think, a $10 million discount. Yeah, it's $13.83 million now. So we can lower Warner's cap hit with the restructure. Look at that, $36.8 million for the 49ers to fill up the last 8 spots, not counting the new contract. So I would say $20 million. The 49ers are going to have $20 million to fill out the rest of their 53-man roster. They are in a good spot to take a big swing, which is why I talk about the Armstead, Joey Bosa symmetry. Because Arik Armstead is going to play elsewhere. I think there's a really good chance that Joey Bosa is also going to play elsewhere. Joey Bosa's got that $7 million roster bonus looming here in the very near future. So we got to keep an eye out for that. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this little look inside the salary cap. I'm going to end up tweeting this out. This is staggering to me. In fact, I want to take a screenshot of this and use it as a way so people can see what's going on. I know I promised I'd take some questions, but there's just too much financial stuff to go through right now. I've updated the 49ers salary cap outlook for both 2024 and 2025 with the Arik Armstead release / post June 1st designation. There's big dead money here, but SF has also simultaneously cleared up a ton of space. Against the 53-man cap, what was it? It was $36.81 million. $36.8 million of 2024 space before new deals register. And now I got to include the link for all of you. And the tweet is out. Good. So what I just did is I sent this out on Twitter. You can go check it out on Lombardi himself, how I got to that $38.6 million number. It helps. It pays off to be on top of this stuff early when everything kind of hits the fan at once, as we are seeing right now. Deebo Samuel not happy that the 49ers released Arik Armstead. Posted on Instagram. I can get that up on the screen for you. This is for Deebo Samuel on Instagram, who changed his number to 1 yesterday. All right, now I think that we're officially ready to officially move on to the 49ers Q&A. Been on for 37 minutes. Wow. All right, let's go. I'm ready for your questions. Hit me with the cues. Dead money is money that the 49ers have already paid a player through a signing bonus that hasn't yet hit the salary cap because by rule, the signing bonus stretches out over the future as far as the salary cap hit. Think of it as an accordion. You stretch the money out so it doesn't all hit at once. That's just how NFL rules work. Anytime a player is traded or released, the money that you've already paid the player but haven't faced on the salary cap yet has to accelerate and hit at once. So the 49ers are taking on $25.9 million, which is a big hit for Arik Armstead in dead money, but they can stretch it out. They could spread that out with the post June 1st designation. Somebody's asking me about Purdy's cost next year. I have no idea. It's going to be big. Kirk Cousins went for $45 million per year. I think Purdy's a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. The market should continue to inflate for quarterbacks, so it might be even more than that next season. Danny Gray seems to have fallen out of favor. He's going to have another chance to compete and earn his spot back during training camp this past year. Michael wants to know when the Bosa trade is going to happen. Well, it could happen at any point if the 49ers want to inherit his contract. I don't think the 49ers want to pay $22 million for him, though. The 49ers would rather wait to see if Joey Bosa is released. I don't know about Xavier Howard. People talking about him, but with Xavier Howard, his best football seems to have come a couple years ago. The 49ers want to pick up ascending players for value, not descending players. I do agree that adding another defensive back could be a priority for the 49ers. I don't think it's going to be this simple. Go for Baroque. I think the 49ers might backload some of these deals. I don't think that the true value of some of these deals will be the numbers that you're saying. These were the initially reported values. It's usually some fluff that the agents put out there. I think that the true value is going to be lower, and we just have to wait for the numbers to come out. So don't be surprised if there's some real cap gymnastics that come from the 49ers to keep the players cheaper than that. At least that's been how they've architected contracts before. Will something change with Brock Purdy's deal coming up next year? Possibly. But I would just wait to see what the numbers are going to be before assuming. I do think the 49ers might make a move for a cornerback. I just don't know if it's going to be big, small. I do know they still have the draft as well. And I've talked about them looking at the draft for offensive line and obviously looking at free agency for defensive line. That's been what's happened so far. Appreciate you, DG. Thank you for watching. I appreciate this comment. And I mean, it's been a hell of a day. So this was the start of the new league year. We got the Arik Armstead news in. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later. Right now, I'm going to get going because I've been talking to you for quite some time. We'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you for watching.